Hello, I'm connecting a couple of minutes early just to make sure everything's working. I'm using a new computer and I'm not 100% confident it's set up right for this, so let me know in the chat if the audio and video is acceptable. Can you see me and hear me? Not seeing anything. Okay, somebody's giving me the Angela sign, but is the I see you and hear you. Good, thank you. That's what I want to know. Okay, good. Okay, so I think that we'll be ready to go in less than a minute. I'll wait till the clock turns over and I'll start. Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, greetings everyone. After a few weeks hiatus, I've been traveling. I was in Missouri teaching, but I'm back here now, and we'll continue with these live streams. And I'm going to start this week talking about a very fundamental teaching of the Buddha, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. This is found in the Samyutta Nikaya, and it's the first discourse of the Buddha after his enlightenment. The backstory is that when he was practicing his asceticism before his enlightenment, he had 5 companions, and they were practicing all these extreme fasting and sitting out in the sun, all this kind of mortification. And at some point, the Buddha decided that's not the correct path. I'm never going to make it this way. And he accepted a gift of a bowl of milk rice from a shepherd girl, Sujata. And this is said to be the most auspicious gift of all time. It gave him the strength to meditate through the night. His 5 companions left him in disgust. They said, Gautama has reverted to luxury. And they went off on their own. There's a colorful detail in the commentary about this bowl of milk rice that after he'd eaten the bowl of milk rice, he took the bowl and put it into the river and made the aspiration, if I am to attain supreme Buddhahood this night, may this bowl float against the current upstream. And it did. It floated upstream for a ways, then it sank in the water. And it landed with a clink on a pile of 3 other bowls belonging to the 3 previous Buddhas. They'd all been exactly at the same spot and made exactly the same aspiration. So the Buddha practiced, or the Bodhisattva still at this point, he practiced this meditation through the night and attained the 3 supreme knowledges and attained to Buddhahood. And then he, after some, not immediately, because at first he was inclined to just enjoy the bliss of enlightenment, but he was begged by the Brahma Sahampati to teach for the sake of all beings. There are those with little dust in their eyes that are perishing for lack of the Dhamma. out of compassion, he should get up and go forth and teach. And he did so. And he examined with his mind, who can benefit from my teaching first. And he thought of two teachers he had during his wandering days, but he discovered they were both dead. So he then thought, well, my 5 companions in the holy life. So he sought them out, and when they saw him approaching their campsite, they first said, there's that backslider Gautama who reverted to luxury. Don't read him or pay attention to him. But when he came close, he was so radiant that they couldn't help themselves. They got up and prepared a seat for him and gave him some water to drink and so forth. And then he sat down and he gave this sermon that's recorded as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. This is in the Samyutta Nikaya. It's the first talk that he ever gave that we have record of, and it lays out the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, which is the foundation of the entire Dhamma. All the rest of the Buddha's teaching could be considered in some ways a commentary on the Four Noble Truths. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi at the deer park at Isapatana. So you'll see representations of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta in art. We've got a beautiful Buddha Rupa on our altar here that represents the Dhammacakkappavattana teaching. You'll always see 2 deers on either side of the Buddha that represents the deer park. There the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus of the group of 5 as follows. And first, before he gets into the Four Noble Truths, he gives a teaching on the middle way. He says, bhikkhus, these 2 extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness. What 2? The pursuit of sensual happiness and sensual pleasures, which is low, vulgar, the way of worldlings, ignoble, unbeneficial, and the pursuit of self-mortification. It's the other extreme, which is painful, ignoble, unbeneficial. Without veering towards either of these extremes, the Tathagata has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge, which leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. So in his own life so far, he experienced both of these extremes. He had been raised in great luxury, so he experienced the sensual pleasure side, and then he went forth into homelessness, and he immediately went into the other extreme of asceticism. And now he rejects both of them. And what bhikkhus is that middle way, awakened to by the Tathagata, which gives rise to vision, which leads to nibbana? It is the Noble Eightfold Path. That is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This bhikkhus is the middle way awakened to by the Tathagata, which gives rise to vision, to knowledge, leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of suffering. Now he goes into the Four Noble Truths. The noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering, union with what is displeasing is suffering, separation from what is pleasing is suffering, not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. And of course, the word translated here as suffering is dukkha. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this craving which leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is, and these are the 3 tanha, the 3 cravings. Craving for sense pleasures, craving for existence, craving for extermination. Which sometimes those last 2 are translated as craving for being and craving for not being. I found an interesting parallel to that teaching of the 3 cravings in the Christian story of Jesus in the desert, and Satan tempts him 3 times. first time he tells him, end your fast, you can use your powers to turn these stones into bread and eat them. That's craving for sensual pleasure. And then he says, the devil says to him, you can become king of the world and everyone will obey you. The craving for being, which is expressed as a desire to have an expansive being, be more powerful. And finally he says, well, just make an end of it, jump off the cliff. Craving for non-being. So then that's the noble truth of origin of suffering. Then now this because is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is a remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, that giving up and relinquishing of it, the freedom from it, non-reliance on it. This is the truth of the end of suffering. It's the truth of nibbana, which is not named here in this sutta, but it's just called the cessation of suffering. You'll find in the Buddhist teachings there's very little direct talk about nibbana because it's really inexpressible. Where it's mentioned at all, it's either spoken of in the negative, or the Buddha will tell us, as he does in the Udana, he'll say, it's not born, it doesn't die, it's not conditioned, so forth. It's all negative. In Pali, that's with the a prefix, so unborn ajata, undying amata, and so on. Or in very poetic allusions that are not meant to be taken literally, like the far shore, the safe, secure refuge of all beings, the island. So in his very first teaching, he doesn't even name nibbana. He just calls it the end of suffering. And then the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path, that is, right view, etc., down to right concentration. So first he names the four truths, then he goes into a little bit more expansion, and he talks about the four truths, each in three modes. This is the noble truth of suffering. Thus, because in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. The noble truth is to be fully understood. Thus, because in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me knowledge, vision, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. The noble truth of suffering has been fully understood. Thus, because in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me knowledge, vision, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. So that is first he names the truth as something unheard before. Then he gives the task. This is really the critical stanza for each one. He gives the task that's associated with that truth. And then he proclaims that he has realized it. Now, the task for dukkha, or suffering, is to know it. The Pali is pajanati, to know it or fully comprehend it. And we'll see when we get to the third noble truth, it's a different word. That the idea is that suffering is the first truth, this truth of dukkha, is entirely limited to the conditioned world, to samsara. And samsara is something we can encompass with the mind. We can understand it, and we should. We should understand the nature of reality, or make an effort to do so. The noble truth of the origin of suffering is to be abandoned. So that once we understand suffering, we look at the origin of suffering, which is craving, and we're admonished to abandon the craving. Thus, because in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. Then the third truth, this is the noble truth of cessation of suffering. The noble truth of cessation of suffering is to be realized. That is sachikaroti in Pali. That is to fully comprehend or to experience. It's just direct knowledge. It's not understanding with the intellect. It's which nibbana cannot be encompassed by the thinking mind. It has to be directly experienced. Sachikaroti. So that's quite different than pajanati. The noble truth of cessation of suffering has been realized. Then the way leading to the cessation of suffering. And this one, the task associated is to follow it. The Pali is it's to be developed or practiced. So this is the practical, the 8 factors of the path, or the practical part of the teaching. Now, it's sometimes some people find it odd the order of these 4 truths, that the path is left to the end. But it seems that as the Buddha often did, he was following convention and putting a new spin on it. The 4 truths here follow the formula of Indian medical texts, suffering being the disease, and the cure is the Eightfold Path, and that the medical texts would usually have like 4 sections for each disease. One would be the symptoms, then the cause of the disease, then the prognosis, is this disease curable or not, and finally the treatment plan. So long, bhikkhus, is my knowledge and vision of these 4 noble truths as they really are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects was not fully purified in this way, I did not claim to have awakened to unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world, with its devas, Mars, and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its devas and humans. But when my knowledge and vision of these 4 noble truths as they really are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects was thoroughly purified in this way, then I claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world, with its devas and Mars and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its devas and humans. This knowledge and vision arose in me. Unshakable is the liberation of my mind. This is my last birth. Now there is no more renewed existence. This is what the Blessed One said. Elated, the bhikkhus of the group of 5 delighted in the Blessed One's statement. And when this discourse was being spoken, there arose in Venerable Condanyo the dust-free, stainless vision of the Dhamma. Whatever is subject to origination is subject to cessation. Now this is very important. Condanyo was one of the 5 bhikkhus, and at this point he becomes the first stream winner, the first sotapanna. His Dhamma eye was opened, and there arose in him this dust-free, stainless vision. And it's significant that the statement he makes, whatever is subject to origination is subject to cessation. If you recall what the Buddha taught previously in the sutta, the Buddha never gave that teaching of impermanence. This is indicates that Condanyo had his own direct penetration and realization of Dhamma. He wasn't just parroting what the Buddha said. He'd actually experienced the glimpse of Nibbana, and then entered the stream and proclaimed with this statement that he understood. And when the wheel of Dhamma had been set in motion by the Blessed One, this is the moment, this is actually the critical moment in the history of Buddhism, that Condanyo attained stream entry. That means that the Buddha's teaching would not end with him. It had been transmitted. The wheel of Dhamma had turned. So it's at this moment that the sasana, or the Buddhist tradition, begins. That it was actually not just an individual realization by one man, but now it's a teaching that's out in the world. The wheel of Dhamma had been set in motion. The earth-dwelling devas, the Bhuma devas, raised a cry. At Varanasi, in the deer park at Isipatana, this unsurpassed wheel of the Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One, which cannot be stopped by any ascetic or Brahmin or Deva or Mara or Brahma or by anyone in the world. Having heard the cry of the earth-dwelling devas, the devas of the realm of the four great kings raised a cry. At Varanasi, this unsurpassed wheel of the Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One, which cannot be stopped by anyone in the world. Having heard the cry of the devas of the realm of the four great kings, the Tawatingsa devas, the Yama devas, the Tusita devas, the Nimanarati devas, the Parinimantawasiwati devas, the devas of Brahma's company raised the cry. At Varanasi, in the deer park at Isipatana, this unsurpassed wheel of the Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One, which cannot be stopped by any ascetic or Brahmin or Deva or Mara or Brahma or anyone in the world. So the devas rejoice. So this signifies this cry went up through from one Deva realm to the other, to the highest heavens. So this signifies that this was an event of great cosmic importance. Then at that moment, at that instant, at that second, the cry spread as far as the Brahma world, and this 10,000-fold world system shook, quaked, and trembled, and an immeasurable glorious radiance appeared in the worlds, passing the divine majesty of the devas. So this was an event that the repercussions of which spread even beyond this one world system into 10,000 world systems. Then the Blessed One uttered this inspired utterance. Kondanyo has indeed understood. Kondanyo has indeed understood. In this way, the Venerable Kondanyo acquired the name Anya Kondanya, Kondanya who has understood. So it's a fairly short sutta, but it's a very important one. And as I said, it's the Buddha's very first teaching, and it's the foundation of all his subsequent teaching. The Pali is often chanted as it sounds very beautiful chanted in Pali. There's a lot of repetitions, and it's very poetic. And this is the sutta that marks really the beginning of the Buddha's teaching. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. No, I may have been disconnected here. Am I still connected? I can see weird messages in the chat. Chat disconnected, successfully reconnected. That happens 3 times, so I don't know. Anybody still getting this, or is it this all lost in the void? Yes, okay. Yeah, good. Okay, the chat was just dropping in and out, it looks like. I've also got a bit of a live audience here today in the cabin. So if any of you have a question, go ahead and ask it. I'll repeat it for the...
Yes, I have a very simple question.
Yes.
Who heard this and transcribed it? Very simple question.
Oh, good. Yeah, I got a question from the local audience, who heard and transcribed this sutta. All the suttas were rehearsed by Ananda at the first council. Obviously, Ananda was not present at this one, so he must have been given this account, been given this account by one of the five bhikkhus. Question here: do scholars also consider this as one of the earlier layers of sutta? Yeah, I think so, because this is so fundamental of a sutta, and it's as far as I know, it's virtually identical across all recensions, including the Chinese agamas. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Noble Path is foundational to all Buddhists of all traditions. Why did the Buddha teach the truth of dukkha first and not dependent origination first? I think that the truth of dukkha and its cause and cessation and path leading to that, I think that's more foundational. It certainly it's more existential to the human problem. The dependent origination is more of a theoretical explanation, and it also the Paticca Samuppada, the 12 stages of the dependent origination, can be seen as an expansion of first and second noble truth. So I think the first noble truth is, or the four noble truths, is more foundational. Can you clarify the 3 phases and 12 aspects? Well, the 3 phases are, first of all, for each truth, a bare statement of that truth, and then the second is the task needed to gain mastery of that truth. For the first truth, it's to understand it; the second truth, to abandon it; the third truth, to realize it; and the fourth truth, to practice it. And then the third phase is the Buddha's proclamation that he had perfectly mastered that particular truth. So there's the 4 truths times 3 phases equals the 12 aspects. See me, how do I do this? Okay, I gotta expand the font here for me to see. Hello, Ajahn. Was Venerable Kandanya referenced in any other suttas? I don't think so. I'm not dead sure about that. We could look that up in the dictionary of Pali proper names. That would be the way to determine that. But I don't recall him being. I may be wrong about that, but nothing comes to mind. How do you understand early disciples achieving enlightenment simply by hearing Buddha's teaching versus developing insight via meditation? Well, I think you have to take into account that anyone who is in the presence of the Buddha to get his direct teaching, that would have been the result of very good karma from previous lives. So they'd probably done a lot of development in previous lives, and we're ready just to make the critical insight. Anyone else here have a question? Feel free to jump in. Oh, here's another question in the chat. Why did the Buddha teach during this sermon that the cause of dukkha is tanha? Shouldn't it be the cause of dukkha is avidya? I'm trying to understand the relation of dependent origination with dukkha. Well, the two are very more related, avidya and dukkha. Avidya is the foundation or beginning of the dependent origination, as is usually taught. Ignorance leads to volitional formations, leads to rebirth consciousness. Dukkha is kind of a result of that. Tanha is the particular energy that causes beings to keep being reborn and keeps us in existence. So it's more dynamic than Vijja. It has this force to keep the mind engaged with the objects of samsara. Chat keeps disconnecting and reconnecting. So I don't know, it's possible I'm missing some of your questions. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. In the Eightfold Path, in your own experience, have you found one of those to be more important in the practice?
Okay, I was asked if the Eightfold Path factors, if one is more important or the most important. In one sense, they're all equally important. There's an analogy like there are 8 strands of a rope, but it can also be seen as a kind of a ladder. And right view, samaditi, being put in the first position, gives that a special importance. The view has to be clarified for the other factors to work.
How do you explain the simplest explanation for the middle way for everyday life, ordinary life?
Asked how do I explain the simple explanation for the middle way as practiced in ordinary daily life? I think it's it's best understood as neither seeking pleasure nor pain, but to take all your experiences with equanimity. Okay. Okay, I think we'll wind it down now, unless there's any more last questions, either from the chat or from people here. Yes?
So to practice right view, it's by concentration practices mostly?
Practice right view
Like by
is the practice of right view based on concentration practice? No, it isn't. It's based on understanding. The word is ditti, which is translated as view, and it has the sense of it's more than just like having a set of beliefs or doctrine. It means how you view the world, your basic root understanding. It's like there's a German term used in philosophy, Weltanschauung, if you're familiar with that. It's like your worldview. So your basic understanding of things, if it's aligned with the Dhamma and I think that it's explained, defined in different ways in different places, but I think probably the most practical one is you seeing things according to the three characteristics, as empty of substance, of impermanent, and as imperfect or suffering. And that's not gotten by concentration. That's insight or understanding. How much time does the average person need to achieve first jhana if he spent a whole day on meditation? Year, 10 years, more? I don't know if you spend. I don't think you can really put a number on it because it depends on so much on your innate capacity, your previous karma, and so much else. But I hesitate putting any kind of number on it, but I don't think it's that long if you're meditating all day long. There arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. What is the difference of knowledge and true knowledge? Why would it be emphasized separately? I think that's more or less just the Pali literary style of repeated synonyms. I don't think it has any. I don't think there's any specific real meaning with that. You'll find that often in the Pali and the suttas. There'll be a long string of synonyms or near synonyms, and in the Pali that they have a rhythm, and I think it's more for the sound of the language rather than it having a specific meaning. What is the meaning of this sermon listing all the Dewa realms? The implication is that the moment of the turning of the Dhamma wheel was so important. It was not just of worldly importance, but of cosmic importance. And the blessing of that event percolated upwards through all the Dewa realms from one to the other to the highest heaven of the Brahma gods.
And the eighth jhana,
Yeah.
and he realized it wasn't the way to cessation of suffering. And he remembers being in the first jhana when he was a child.
Yes.
But like to be able to attain 7 and 8 jhana, you need to be able in a way to be in the first jhana. So why does this memory make him like?
The question was about the Bodhisattva having a memory of it entering first jhana as a child, and why is that? Why is that important? I think it's because that just the fact of being in jhana, whether it's first, second, or or higher jhanas, that the mind he had experienced the mind entering a more refined state, and the state of jhana is pleasant and peaceful, so that he could see that he's not going to get that from self-mortification. So it's said somewhere that jhana has the taste of nibbana. It's not nibbana, but has the taste of nibbana. So it give him some similar experience to go by. Is there a translation you prefer? Yeah, I always think Bhikkhu Bodhi's translations are the best. Does the fact that the Buddha does not describe the entire Noble Eightfold Path here mean it is teaching evolved, as they do teach people with different capacities, or are they implied? No, I mean there is some additional suttas where the factors of the Eightfold Path are spelled out and defined. Here he just basically names them. I think this was his very first teaching. He was just laying out a framework, and he still had 40 years to expound on the details. I think this is probably enough to begin with. Okay. Okay, so we'll stop at this point, and thank you very much, and I'll be back again next week, and we'll see.